Monday, March 15th, 2021, Goldsboro City Council regular meeting will come to order. I'd like to announce that the mayor will not be here tonight. Based on doctor's orders, he will be taking a leave of absence. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I actually have an amendment. Sorry. You can start, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
I wanted to add agenda item if I could. I would like to add Women's History Month to new business.
History Month?
Women's History Month?
Women's History Month. Okay, Councilman Jones, Councilwoman Jones.
And item M, under authorization of agreement of the Goldsboro Football Club Youth Academy, we got an email asking that we table that item until April.
So item M under consent agenda will be removed, and does he want to reschedule it?
Yes, to the April meeting.
Okay, it'll be rescheduled to the April meeting.
Yes. If I could have added the FY18-19 audit update from our auditors, Dixon, Hughes, and Goodman, and have them up first this evening.
And that's item
That would be under old business.
B.
Yeah, if I could do that before the staggered terms discussion, I
Okay.
think we have them online,
Okay.
ready to go.
And are any other changes or additions to the agenda? If not, I'll.
You know you have closed session item on it or listed. I just want to make sure you give me a few minutes for 2 closed session items tonight, just briefly.
We had a closed session.
It's on the agenda, but just want to make sure that you were aware. I have
Yeah.
2 quick items to discuss.
Okay.
And they will be both concerning
You know,
potential
vote,
litigation.
To approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? So carried. Okay, item old business, we will take up the
I didn't hear. Mayor Pro Tem Ham?
Yes.
Was there a second to the motion?
I'm sorry.
I second.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, all in favor, raise your hand.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Manager?
Yes, sir. Do we have Mr. Franks online? Dixon, Hughes, and Goodman?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Great. I don't know if we can get video on the screens. Working on that. Good day, John. We have you loud and clear if you'd like to do your presentation to council. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate you allowing us to join you this afternoon. Just to give you a quick update on the audit, I'd say overall, there's been a substantial amount of progress on the audit since the last time we updated you. We've provided the city's finance department with a preliminary draft of the financial statements. I'd say it's about 90% complete. At this point, we just need to wrap up some testing and hope to have the audit completed sometime in the next 30 days. So otherwise, nothing new to report, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Anyone have a question to the speaker?
Did I hear the next 30 days?
That's what we're shooting for. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the update. We always want to hear some positive information from you guys.
Okay. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Okay, next item under old business is staggered terms discussion. Randy?
Good afternoon. Approximately a month ago, we had our staggered terms discussion at the retreat, and we had said we'd bring it back, our staff would bring it back just to see if there was any guidance from council if we want to move forward with this, or you want to defer a decision on this till later, or just kind of an update, or if you need some more information, or just kind of where we stand. With redistricting, if we're going to do that this year, we probably want to try to coordinate those two processes to maybe not overlap because it could be confusing. We might be able to do this beforehand. It would just determine when our census data comes out. But we just want to kind of get a handle if there was any interest to do the staggered terms piece, or if we wanted to hold off on it. As I said at the retreat, there's no requirement to do it. We're perfectly in compliance where we stand now. It was brought up by council a while back to consider, and then we did the presentation. Just want to see if there was any guidance from council so that we can begin the process, or answer any further questions that you might have.
Well, since I've asked that it be put on the agenda, I would just say that I would remind the council that we all, our term expires on the same year, and that while we don't have to do anything right away, it's something we ought to be thinking about as we move forward. We have census data coming out this summer. That will determine whether or not district lines are drawn. I had information today that indicated we would be reaching that point in time around September, meaning that the census data would have come out during the summer, and that the district lines, if they are going to be redrawn, would probably take place somewhere in the September, October timeframe. So I personally am supportive of redoing our schedule of terms so that we can have continuity in the event that we have a major turnover of personnel in terms of the council. But this, we don't have to make a decision. I was just hoping that we could at least spend a few moments and have individuals speak to that, if anyone wants to speak to it.
I am in favor of staggered terms to promote consistency and stability. It will also maintain order through the elections. But I also want to make sure that it is, you know, and I know it will be done fairly. We do have, it'll be after the 4 years after this term. So I would like for us to move forward in discussing it and talking about it and have that conversation. I think it would be great to have senior people come on and you be able to mentor, people be able to mentor you. Like I've had some mentors here. So I think the staggered term is a really good idea. We just don't want an all-new council, and you're talking about the budget, and you're talking about all different things, and they're looking at, you know, you can read stuff, but it's always good to have someone right there when it happened to share.
I'd like to speak in support simply because I think it would help the staff and all the support agencies to not totally turning over a council every 4 years. I think it would make us more efficient.
I'd like to see more data, but as it stands, I do believe that we do need to have some experience that'll usher in new people. When I came in, I had a couple that reached out to me and kind of groomed me in politics. I was a poli-sci major, but I did not know it would entail as much as a local municipality does. And I am aware that most municipalities, as well as the commissioner, school board, they do also operate in this manner. So, but I would like to look at the data when it comes out. I don't think it's something we need to jump on. As they have previously said, you know, we finish out our terms, and this would be something maybe looking at moving forward. But that's all I have. Thank you.
Personally, as I said before, I don't see the need for staggered terms. I have done some research, I've read some reports, I talked to some municipalities who have done staggered terms. You know, as far as, you know, the terms expiring, our terms have always expired at the same time. My concern, however, is, you know, we heard comments from a council member, you know, saying that, you know, some of us are not running again. And I don't know who that some of us is, because no one asked me what my decision was. So what I'm saying is I hope it doesn't turn into because a certain group of us are not running, because, you know, I don't know who's been asked is not running or not. I would love to know who those people are. But my thing is, we have staff, and a lot of those reports, and even that municipality that I spoke to, they decided to go back to a standard. They do the 4-year term after they tried the staggered terms, and you depend on your staff. So I think it's unsafe to depend on the opinion of just a council member when we have staff in place who are the subject matter experts. I would never lean to another council member to tell me how I should feel about the budget or what they think about the budget. I think it's good to use them as a resource, but I'm going to ask Randy about Randy-related questions. I'm gonna ask Ron, our city manager, about legal questions. I'm gonna ask our city manager about those questions. I'm not gonna ask another council member. And I was one of the ones who had very little mentorship when I came on in 2019. I did have one council member who rallied around me to help me if I had questions. So I guess I say, do we trust our staff? You know, even if we have one member who's been here 4 years or 8 years, that's better than none, you know, but let's say a couple of us run and we win our races. Then there's your experience right there. I think the best way to build consistency, I think we need to spend time trying to create a more unified front right now with what we have. What other resources are we using to better prepare a council that's gonna come behind us? You know, so I'm not in agreement with the staggered terms. I think that the best way to build stability, you know, and I would love to see a board come in and build together and bond together. It's something I wish I had now with this board, but I don't have that, you know, so I would love to see a board come in and build and grow together. We have trainings. We depend on the School of Government. During our retreat, we had a presentation from the School of Government. So now none of these entities we want to rely on. We only want to rely on, I'm not going to use the word only because that was nobody's words, but to say we need to rely on one another seems shortchanging the people that we have in place to help us. And, you know, I'm an advocate for change, but I'm an advocate for change when change is necessary. And I just don't particularly think that this is necessary. You want to have camaraderie. You want to have unity. I don't think this is a great way to do that at all. There's already a huge information gap right now on the board. I'll speak from my own personal experience. There's an information gap. You know, there's going to be a constant turnover where staff is going to have to be getting to know new council members and the community and all of that. And we don't have the best numbers with voting turnout. We don't. So imagine trying to throw people in to do an election every 2 years, and then how much is this going to cost the city to do that? And I think now we should be good stewards over our money. You know, we have an audit. We just heard from our audit. And the financial stability of the city right now, I don't think it's good to kind of put money in places. But that's just my opinion on it. Thank you.
Have we discussed, we haven't even discussed the data of how the staggered terms are going to work. Yeah, is that my understanding? We haven't even discussed that.
Data, well, I mean, basically, there's two processes you can follow to set up staggered terms, and then really how you would determine which districts would get would be 2 years for one period, and then would go back to 4-year terms to get you to stagger with each other is random lots, which would mean some type of random draw. 6 numbers, put, 6 pieces of paper, put in a bag or hat, and a judge or somebody coming in and pulling them out, 2 or 4, something random is how the Institute or School of Government actually recommends to do that.
Yeah, well, see, now I don't really like that,
Yeah.
but, I think that we need to come up with a better way, but we do need to discuss it, how we're gonna.
Yeah, and the rationale for that is, and I agree, when I initially saw that, I was like, well, there's got to be a different way to do it, and I did a lot of research. I'm sure Ron has looked into it as well. Is that it's just that there's too many variables that could, that are challengeable legally. Like, for example, if one council member runs unopposed, there may be low turnout in that district, and they don't have as many votes as another council member. Or if one runs unopposed, they may have a higher percentage of votes because they had 99% of them in a few write-ins. And it'd be unfair to another council, member or whatnot who was challenged or unchallenged. There's just too many variables to put it on a pure number of votes or whatnot. That's why the School of Government and their blog and other information has always recommended a random lot system. But we can explore other ways.
Yeah, Yeah, I would,
That's just the way up front.
yeah, I would suggest that we explore another way to do the staggered terms and who would be staggered. I would like to explore that.
And there again, there's not as clear a guidance, maybe Ron wants to chime in on it, but I think that's just the way that least likely to a challenge. You could propose, something reasonable and see if it's challenged, but that's the least challengeable means.
The issue really is if you decided, or one of the other council members decided to give up their seat, so to speak, so, okay, I'll only do mine for 2 years. Well, then their constituents would have a claim or complaint and say, wait a minute, we wanted you for 4 years. Now you're only going to give us 2 years, and that's not fair to us as voters. So then you have one district that's being treated unfairly versus another district, because the other district got to do theirs for 4 years. And that's why the school of government has decided that the draw by lot system is the most fair way to do it, because then a constituent can't really challenge that because it was done in a way that treated all districts the same. A decision wasn't made by 1 or 2 or 3 council members that said, okay, we're good with your district only being 2 years this time, or I'm good with mine only being 2 years this time. Because of again, the electorate would be the ones that's having the issue, okay, from one district versus the next. So I understand exactly what you're saying, because the first time I looked at it, my first question was, okay, who's going to decide they only want 2 years? And I started thinking about it and reading some more on it and said, okay, well, that's not going to really work under these circumstances. So the lot system was the only thing they'd be able to come up with to make that transition take place.
Yeah, when this originally came up in
So-
05, when it was pitched to me, I thought the same thing, you go with highest number of vote getters or something like that, and just, everything I read just didn't come back to that, it's just that there were too many ways that could be challenged.
And so-
The only way that you could resist challenge would be random lots.
All right, that's the only way they've seen to resist it. Challenging is maybe somebody doesn't challenge it, and you do it, and everybody's fine. But if they do challenge it and they win in court, then we're back to the whole thing all over again.
Well, we're open to research it, but that's just what we found.
Sure.
And Ron researched independently from me and came up with the same thing.
I did prior to him doing the presentation of the retreat, because I was going to do the presentation, but I had a trial scheduled that week for other clients, and so I was not going to be at the retreat. Ended up resolving the case. I was able to be there, but then Randy had already prepared to present it when he knew I was not going to be available.
Mr. Aycock, you have any comment?
I'm strongly in favor of staggered terms, and it's for reasons everybody's given. And, I just think it'd be better for the city if we had staggered terms.
I would propose, tell me if this is legal or not, Ron, that we do a non-binding vote to demonstrate our support for staggered terms.
I would say at this point, I would prefer not to do a non-binding vote. I don't think you can really do a non-binding vote anyway. But I
Okay.
think that until there's more information that maybe to answer some of the other questions, I think from, maybe Randy can take it from the discussion so far, that there's at least a majority that's in favor of discussing it further.
Okay.
I would suggest that staff have an opportunity to bring some options as to what type of procedure to use. And
Okay.
maybe the only option again is the lot, then y'all can decide at that point if you want to vote to do that.
Okay.
The only other issue, that I think Randy was alluding to is that, the census is going to be coming out. We don't know if some lines are going to have to be redrawn or not at this point. And so, it might be wise to wait till after the census comes out, since everybody does have a few more years left on your terms anyway.
Okay.
To get the census data out first. Let's see if the lines have to be redrawn before, because we have to go through that before we'd even talk about the staggered terms issue. That would be my suggestion. It's your decision, but that's my suggestion.
Okay, well, I accept that. We already understand, based on conversation here, that we have 5 members of the council that support staggered terms. So unless there's further discussion, we just leave it at that. Anyone else have anything to say?
Have you guys discussed staggered terms before, those of you who have been here?
That's been discussed for the last 20 years.
So why wasn't it done before? What were those reasons? Because, obviously there were some pretty
I did not understand your
significant.
question. I can't understand.
If staggered terms have been discussed for the past 20 years, like Councilmember Aycock said, I've never heard of the city doing staggered terms before. What was the reason that they weren't done then, and what has changed now that makes staggered terms a good idea, that it wasn't a good idea
I
then?
have no idea. I mean, I know that when Jimmy Bryan was a council member, it came up, but it never got into serious discussions.
And I know it came up 10 years ago, and it never got to serious. I mean, almost to the level we're at right now. It came up at that point.
So are the reason we're visiting this issue because the majority of the board doesn't plan on running again, or is that the driving force? Because I still haven't heard a good reason why we should do staggered terms. I just remember it coming up after the comment was made that the majority of the board does not plan on running again. But there are still members outside of that majority who may have plans of rerunning, which means if they were to win their races, I don't want to assume anybody's going to win that's already seated. That's not fair to say. If they were to win, then that would leave experience on the table, so, and then we have the expertise of our staff. And if we don't rely on our staff that do this every day, I think there's a problem there that we don't trust our staff to be to make sure that we have a successful board. But that's just, thank you. That was my only question after that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we've on new business. We have a representative here, Mr. McGrath, to talk about Air Force Family Scholarship Program.
Thank you. Joining me is Alex Wingate. Alex is the incoming leader for the Goldsboro Elks, retired educator, and has been a tireless committee member as we have put this new program together.
You mean you're going to step down, you're going to give up the chair?
Yes, I'm running out that door.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So we have been working for the last almost 2 years now on the program that we're presenting to the council tonight, which is the Air Force Family Scholarship Program. We've worked with the base, we've worked with committee members within the Elks organization and committee members from the community at large. And what we have now is a functioning program that is funded, and we are now to the point of accepting applications for award. The program is designed to provide scholarship support for family members of fallen or disabled airmen anywhere in the state of North Carolina. So the eligibility requirements are posted on the website. I think all of you have a handout, or will have a handout on the program. The second page is a flyer which gives you the website and a couple of details about the program. But it can be a family that moved here maybe after their final duty station in another state. If they're in North Carolina at the time of the application, the program applies to them. And again, it's designed for family members of fallen or disabled airmen. So what we learned when the opportunity first was presented to us to develop this program, we learned there were similar programs for all of the other branches of service. So the Air Force was the only branch of service in North Carolina that did not have this kind of program. We worked with the program owners, if you will, from the various branches of service to kind of learn what they went through, how the funding worked, how they developed the reporting structure, everything that was part of the application process and the vetting of the applications. Because our program is funded in partnership through the Patriot Foundation in the state of North Carolina, the reporting requirements have become a little bit easier. I'm not saying they're easy, but just defining them became a little easier because they actually were defined at the state level. So we will follow a very strict process in terms of reporting annually on the scholarship awards. Our opportunity here tonight really is to get the program in front of you, to get the program in front of the community. So we have been actively trying to tell our story through the press and through any channels that we can find. And we know right here with the city leadership, we have incredible thinkers and people that have big voices. So we are thankful for the opportunity to be here, and we hope that you will help us tell the story so that we can get the funds that we have allocated out to folks that are deserving.
Thank you, Doug. And I I know the Elks Lodge here is very involved in promoting military in all aspects of it. And we will support you in this, and we're looking forward to the big show coming up at some time. Hopefully it doesn't get, can you just speak for that just a second, please?
Sure. So I trust the big show that you're talking about is NC Freedom Fest.
Yes.
So when we're able to finally have it in a safe environment, NC Freedom Fest is a military appreciation festival. We have pushed the date a couple of times because obviously we don't want to hold a big celebration and have our target audience not able to attend. So we do have a date that is established. If you look on our website right now, you still see a May date. I will tell you it's been pushed out. I'll probably get in a little bit of trouble because we haven't issued the press release yet, but it has been pushed out a little bit. But we will have an event this year, late summer or fall. We have all of the artists secured for the new date, and we'll be updating the website and issuing a press release sometime in the next 10 days to 2 weeks. And I will tell you for that program, support of corporate sponsors, the base, city. Really what we're finding is that everybody really wants to work together to make this happen. It's really cool to see the coalitions and the collaborative efforts. And I really believe the downtown merchants, the Chamber of Commerce are going to be key in this as we really drive a successful event.
And not only has it been rebranded and rescheduled, it's much bigger this year than it has ever been before.
Yeah, the scope of it is larger by multiples. You know, it's not like a 5% incremental. This will probably be 3 or 4 times the size of anything that we have done in the past. And really the vision when we started this dream to have this event is just picture the streets of Goldsboro closed off for a day, but they're full of foot traffic. Now I know in the pandemic that's not necessarily the picture everybody wants in their mind's eye, but we're going to get past this stage. And when we do, the fact that Goldsboro can celebrate in a big way the military and what sacrifices they make for us that's an amazing privilege. One of the people on base that's actually helping us with some of the planning has shared with us that in her 30-plus year career in 6 duty stations, she's never been in a community that actually held a military appreciation festival. This will be her first. So we want to do it right.
We know how active you are in this process, and I know you from other activities. It's going to be successful.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you guys coming here. We will support the foundation that you're speaking of, and thank you for coming in and sharing it with us as well as the public.
And again, this is one of those rare occasions where somebody's coming forward and we're not asking for money. We're asking for help to tell our story. So if you need contact information, you can reach us through the website, but please help us get this story out on the streets.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm going to suggest that under new business, we insert Brandy's women's history item as item C, and we'll move the board appointments down, Melissa, to item D.
So it's my turn?
Yep.
Okay, so Women's History Month is a celebration of women's contribution to history, culture, you know, society, and it has been observed, you know, all the way back to 1987. So I would like to see the city recognize this. So here and Beyond Women are continuing to take the lead, and I believe that women are the key to a substantial, sustainable development and quality of life, and I could just be biased. So let's look at it. There are women within our own city operating systems, like our clerks, that are very supportive, and they help make our jobs a whole lot easier. This board, let's look at this board. We now have women represented here, which has not been seen since 1986. And it was not until I was elected in November of 2019 that a black woman has ever served in this capacity. Now there are 2. There are so many inspiring stories to salute the countless women making an impact in our communities, our nation, and in our world. We can follow the lyrics from James Brown that says, "This is a man's world, but it will be nothing without a woman or a girl." Or we can even follow Bill Withers that says, "Ain't no sunshine when she's gone." Or my personal favorite, Beyonce, that says, "Who run the world? Girls." No matter which one you prefer, they all acknowledge the undeniable need for women. So I am asking that this board stand with me and stand for all women as I make this motion to create a proclamation that acknowledges March as Women's History Month.
I make a motion that we recognize and make a proclamation to recognize March as Women's History Month.
Is there a second? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Now, you want the proclamation read at the April, acknowledging it backwards, or just produced? And how do you propose to publicize it?
I would like it read. It's okay. We can
Yeah, read.
acknowledge it for April.
But if our next meeting is in April?
Yes,
Okay, read it at April?
yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, can you handle that?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda is board appointments, and you received a listing of the applicants. And Madam Clerk, could you just talk us through this process, please?
Sure. I think you guys were gonna take a peek at, let me get to my listing here. The council representatives on our various boards and commissions. And I think you were also gonna take a look at the Commission on Community Relations and Development. Since Ms. Jones was appointed as District 1 representative, we now have a vacant seat on the Community Relations Board. And you guys do have copies of applications that have been submitted for those who are interested in the Commission on Community Relations and Development. So if you want to tackle that one first, we can do that. Or if you want to look at the council representation on boards and committees.
Let's take council representation first, please.
Okay. You should have a list of that in your folders as well.
I seem to be missing the count. No, I'm sorry, I got it.
Okay.
So on the council, I'll start off with the top right-hand side. On the Transportation Authority, Mr. Bob Waller.
His term
I'm
will
sorry.
expire.
His term expired. And
And you currently have Mr. Acock and Ms.
yeah,
Chacole
we have
Simpson Carter.
Mr. Acock and
There's nobody recommended on the applicants for boards and commissions. So I'd say we just hold off on that. And what we've done in the past is we have gotten a private citizen to be on it who has some knowledge of the workings of the transportation bus system.
okay.
Yeah, my understanding is you don't need to have 3 council members, or, it can be
It just
anybody.
says-
Could
yeah.
be 3 private citizens. What you have right now is a private citizen and a council member.
Right.
So, it could be a staff member as well, however you want to do that.
I have a question about this board. We have a former city employee who, I'll assume the council at some point appointed that individual as a city employee. So I think we need to visit that because there could be a possible another vacancy. That individual is no longer a city employee, and that was what their appointment to that board was for. So I don't think it's fair to hold that spot as a city employee appointment if that person is not a city employee. So do we need to look at that, or do y'all just want to pass it through? But I think it needs
Well,
some
she's chairman
conversation.
of the board right now.
That doesn't change the fact of her appointment, though. I understand that piece.
So that's what I was trying to explain. There's no requirement to be a city staff member, but it was obviously that way in the past. Now she is a citizen and can be there as such. So it's up to y'all however you want to appoint.
Is there any other comment? Councilwoman has spoken that she be removed. Basically, that's what you're saying, correct?
Well, or at least we need to do a reappointment, which means that individual would need to go through the proper application process. I just don't think it's fair to just say, okay, let that individual stay, because any other time someone leaves, like Councilmember Williams, or excuse me, Commissioner Williams, when he left the council, he vacated his positions and his appointments on these boards. And I would like for our staff to follow that same standard. I don't have any issue with her serving on the board. Let me be very clear. That's not what I'm saying. I just think we need to create a system that is followed by everybody. And that is not just coming from me. That was a concern in other places. So I just want to be fair. So if we can get this individual to do the application and then we can reappoint them is what I'm saying. I just want us to follow the same process that we follow for everybody else. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, on Councilmember Williams, when he was on the board, on the commission, he was asked to step down. He didn't leave voluntarily.
But he was reappointed when we reappointed, and then, yes, he was.
No, it's okay. I wasn't shaking my head at you, Councilmember Aycock. Relax.
He was reappointed, and then he declined it.
So let's talk about it, you guys.
Well, I am not understanding if what city manager says that the person doesn't have to, if you have no issue and the person doesn't have to be city employee, I don't understand, and she is the chairman. I don't understand why we have to remove her.
Maybe I was unclear, so I'll restate.
Okay.
What I don't have an issue with is her serving on the board. What I do take issue to is we need to allow everyone to follow the same system. If an appointment is based on an application and a vote from this board for approval, then that's what we need to do. She was originally appointed to the board as a city employee. She was appointed. This person is no longer a city employee, but still maintaining the appointment as a city employee. So all I'm saying is for this particular individual to do the application process. It comes before the board, and we then decide to appoint her to the board. That's what I'm saying. I think that's fair.
Then let's do that.
Well, yeah.
Let's just do that.
But Melissa, did Ms. Carter's term, do you know how long that
6 years.
term is?
I believe it's I think it's yearly, but they can serve up to 6 years. I believe that's correct.
And could you find out that, please?
Yes.
And when does that one-year term end?
Okay.
And we'll take
She's
this
been
up.
serving since January of 2017.
She has been serving since January 17, and can serve up to 6 years.
Yes.
So she would be starting her 4th year
Yes.
this year, effective January.
Yes.
She'll be in her 4th year. So, correct?
5th.
5th, I'm sorry, 17, yep, thank you.
When's,
Unless she was removed, her term would continue on through 2021, December.
Yes, sir.
That's correct.
I believe that's.
and then do they submit an application every time? Probably just the original, right?
Yes.
So did she submit an original application as a city employee?
I'd have to go back and
We'll have to
forth.
check, but we'll get you that update.
Do they ever, do our, do our city employees ever submit an application? and
Yeah,
sit
I
on
don't
these
know,
boards?
this is kind of unusual for a board like that, so we'll check.
And I do want to be clear on something. Commissioner Williams sat on other boards too. He sat on the Herman Park Center board that he left because of his new assignment, as well as the Law and Finance. We're looking at it right here, so, you know.
These
Yep.
were city boards though, so I just, except for the GWTA, that's not, it's not technically a city board and commission. It's, you know, council makes appointments to that board, but it's not a city board per se, like the other ones here.
I think we have 3 appointments and the county has 2.
I know that, he served on the Historic District Commission as an ex officio.
Right, so we got to address all those.
Well, any ex officio is going to be automatically vacated because you're only sitting there as a result of being a council member.
So everybody in their folder should have this list that we can
Yes.
address tonight.
Okay.
So in other words,
So we're going to leave her in place through this term,
Yeah. Well, why don't-
and we're not going to appoint anyone to fill Bob Waller's, because we don't have an application.
And technically Bob's doesn't expire until the end of June,
Oh, okay.
according to my list that I have here, that.
So we have time to come back
Yes.
for that, and hopefully have either an applicant or a recommended from the board,
Yes.
correct? Okay.
It's also my understanding, a lot of these as ex officio members, it's just who on the council is interested in that particular area. And if you're ex officio, you don't vote anyway. You just be there and you represent the city. That's all that is. And it's normally, in the past, it's people who have some contact or some interest in these particular areas. It's not an application process. It's a board appointing some of their members without application.
Right.
So, I must not be being very clear tonight, but I only referenced Commissioner Williams' board because I was making a reference that when you leave, you're leaving, you're not operating in that same capacity if
Agree.
you left
I
the
agree with
position. So that's the only reason why I mentioned him, you guys. I'm not trying to put those 2 people in the same category because they're not. One's elected official, one was a city employee. I was just saying, when you leave, you vacate the position, you vacate the responsibilities and any kind of perks and things that you had, you leave that. So that was my concern with this individual still sitting on the board as a city employee in that capacity. That was it, you guys. I hope that's clear now.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the ex officio members. First one on the list is Commission on Community Relations and Development. Is there a recommendation to replace fill that vacancy or a
that
volunteer?
particular board never had a council member that was an ex officio to it. The board has requested that.
Oh, I see, okay.
So I think I think it's the only one that doesn't have a city council member that is on the board, so.
Okay.
They're requesting it, and if someone has an interest and would like to fill that role, that would be great.
And this
Okay.
is on which committee?
The Community Relations and Development?
Community. Well, since nobody's speaking, I will. Councilmember Jones has been a member of that board and has served on it admirably. And I'm going to make a motion that she be placed there as the ex officio representative.
I second it.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'm in favor of that, but I have a question. Where it says we have a vacancy, are we removing a citizen vacancy to replace it with a city council?
No, all
No.
these,
No.
all
Is
these
that-
are council members.
No, just council members.
We
We-
wouldn't
we're doing the left-
remove a citizen seat for that because it wouldn't be, her position would be a non-voting position.
Right,
It
so
would
what I'm
just
saying
be-
is, we can appoint a council member, and we are still going to appoint a citizen tonight.
You can recommend an appointment, and then we'll bring back a resolution for the citizen one.
Yeah, we do need to do that.
So yes,
So if you chose to put someone to replace Councilwoman Jones, what the clerk is saying is we bring back a resolution for you to affirm that, but yes, we do need that direction.
So we got a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. Councilmember Jones will fill that position. On the Historic District Commission, former Councilmember Williams served there as ex officio. And do we have a nomination for that or a volunteer?
I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm sorry, to go back to what we just did, right? We are going to appoint a citizen to the Community Relations Board.
yes,
Okay,
Yes.
I just wanted to be clear on it.
Yeah.
yes.
And we're gonna do that now. We should do that now instead of moving.
Well, you can, or you can fill all the council member positions and go back to it.
Okay, that's what we were doing. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem. I just wanted to be clear that we are still going to appoint somebody.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, back to the Historic District Commission.
I would be interested in that.
Okay, Councilman Pollock would volunteer to serve on that. That's an important position because it deals with standards for our historic district. Anyone
I'll
else
second.
wanted to challenge him? Okay, there's a motion to,
I'm seconding.
your second his, okay.
I'm seconding the motion.
All in favor of Councilwoman Member Pollock for Historic District Commission, raise your hand.
Discussion?
Mayor Pro Tem Ham, just to be clear, Councilmember Polak volunteered,
Yes,
but I didn't hear a motion that was made. Then Councilmember Broadway said, I second it, but we didn't have an actual motion. We had him say, I volunteer to do it. So if we
Okay.
could have somebody make
I'll
a
go
formal
back and
motion that
ask
he
for the
be
motion
appointed,
then.
then we can do the second.
Okay.
All right, I make a motion that.
Thank you, thank you. Is there a motion to appoint Councilmember Pollock to the Historic District Commission?
So move.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor of appointing Councilmember Pollock to the Historic District Commission, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. The next one, Friends of Seymour Board of Directors. This is one that we don't often have to address, but there is a vacancy there. And I'm going to ask our city manager to elaborate a little bit on the duties of that.
Yes, sir. So it's, you've had Friends of Seymour Finance Committee, which was Mayor Allen, Councilmember Broadway, and myself. But we've never filled this Friends of Seymour Board of Directors. And it is, as I understand it, an ex officio member. So, non-voting member who would sit on the actual Board of Directors.
Can it, just for clarification, because I know this question come up before, can it be also one of the existing Friends of Seymour representatives?
Yes, I think it could be any council member that is on the Finance Committee, so you wouldn't have, so in other words, you can keep 3 people doing that, or you can add a 4th person to it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I would like to volunteer for that since I've been on the finance committee.
You'd like to volunteer?
That's ex officio.
Anyone else? So, council member has volunteered to serve. Is there a motion to nominate him for that?
I make a
Make a
motion
motion.
that we nominate, Councilman Broadway, continue to serve on that board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second's made. All in favor of Councilmember Broadway to the Friends of Seymour Board of Directors, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. Herman Park Center. This is a position replacing former Councilmember Williams. Myself and Councilmember Aycock currently serve on that. Is anyone desiring to serve with us?
I'll serve.
Okay.
I would just like to make a comment when we, just how important this board is. When we established the Herman Park Center Board, that's when, at that point in time, we were in the point of, we had the plans to build a new Herman Park Center. So thank you for, that's been put on hold for a little while, but that's,
Well, you still have plans, but.
we've discussed the plans. I just wanted to put that
You're gonna have
out.
to get financing for it now,
Right.
which is dependent on getting the audits complete.
But this
And
is,
then
thank you for doing
priorities.
this.
Good point, good point. So, Councilmember Jones has volunteered to serve on that. Is there a motion? Is there anyone else that wants to contest against her, challenge her, whichever? If not, the motion to, is second.
Second.
All in favor of Councilwoman Jones for the Herman Park Center, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. Okay, now we're into the commissions, is that correct?
And you still have special committees for law and finance. I haven't seen that actually used.
I'm gonna tell you, I served on it for 6 years and we met one time.
Ron, do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't have any experience with it because since I've been city attorney beginning of 2018, that's not been even something that's been discussed.
So maybe you want to do away with it, I don't know.
Well, I'll serve on it. I mean, I have no problem serving on it, but I don't foresee in the next 2 years meeting.
Has it been effective through the years?
Hasn't been
Not
used.
since I've been city attorney, it has not been.
We basically, the one we had was over, let's see, you're dating me back now. I think it was,
I know in the past they've met to talk about assessments, if people were being charged interest on assessments, paving, or, you know, something like that. And they asked for, you know,
that's what it was.
special consideration or making payment plans or, you know, something like that. That's when we've typically met in the past.
So is there no true definition of what this
No,
committee
sir.
does? It's just,
It's just
I
there.
think we need to come up with some type of verbiage on what each committee and what each, you know, responsibility of each board holds, you know, because like I said,
And the
you said they only
purpose.
met once in 6 years, and we don't really have a concise definition of what this actually does. So I think we need to come up with some type of, not say throw it out, I mean, it might be effective if we can give it a definition of what its purpose is. So can we come back and revisit that board before?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I
have no problem with that.
I agree.
Okay. We ready to go on the commissions?
Yes, sir.
First one is the Commission on Community Relations and Development.
Yes, and as far as I'm aware, that's the only one that we have a vacant seat
Yeah.
on.
On your list, you've got those that have stated their choices. And did we have, Melissa, did we have in our packet, I'm looking for any additional names or applications?
We had Jackie Hauser to come in, I believe is the most recent one that was submitted, I believe.
I think it was Marcus, wasn't it Marcus?
Hold on 1 second for me, I'm sorry, guys. Yes, I'm sorry, Marcus Lewis was the most recent one. So Jackie Hauser, who was first choice in District 5, Viola Figueroa. She had listed that as her third choice, and she's in District 4. Kevin Brown had listed it as his third choice, District 6. Mr. Pittman, first choice, District 4. Miss Allen, second choice, District 2. And Terry Bradley, first choice, District 2. And Marcus Lewis, first choice, District 2.
I don't have the information, but in terms of districts, is one district less represented than any others?
I have that listing here. If it looks like we have Miss Jones, of course, was District 1, and then we had 2 more that served in District 1, 1 in District 6, 2 in District 5, 1, 2, 3 in District 2, and 1 in District 4.
So does any member of the council want to speak nominating or suggesting a particular individual?
I would like to nominate Marcus Lewis.
Marcus Lewis?
Yes. District 2.
The only thing with that one, we have, you said 3 people for District 2 already?
Yes, ma'am.
So I would like to see some representation from those districts that, Councilmember Aycock, I think, has one from District 6.
Okay, I missed that.
So, can we look at Mr. Pittman or Miss Bradley?
Well,
Oh, no, that's District 2 too, Miss
well,
Bradley.
Mr. Brown, it was his third choice, and Mr. Pittman, it was his first. If I was going to choose, I think I'd choose the person who was their first choice.
I'll second your nomination. Is that a motion?
So moved.
Now it's a motion.
That was a motion.
You're talking about for
I
Pittman, right?
I haven't made the motion yet, have I?
It's,
Oh, you did, I'm sorry, excuse me.
So a motion.
I mean,
for
I'm
Mr.
just trying to
Pittman, is
move
that
us
clear?
on here.
So we got a motion and second for Mr. Lewis.
No,
Mr. Pittman.
No, it's Mr. Pittman.
So, excuse me, Mr. Pittman from the 4th District. All in favor of Mr. Pittman joining the Commission on Relations, Community Relations and Development, raise your hand. All opposed? So carried. Okay, that takes care of the items down through new business. It's our planning, let's see. Our consent agenda.
With the finance director?
Yes, we have.
good evening.
First one is to accept or reject the initial bid for 102 Bright Street. The offer is Ms. Melissa Gill. She's offered $4,380 on the property. The offer is at least 50% of the tax value. The bid deposit of 5% has been received in the form of a cashier's check. The tax value is $5,470. If the council either accepts or rejects the bid, then we will ask you also to authorize the resolution to start the upset bid process.
I'll make a motion, we accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Our next item is going to be accept or reject the bid for 1005 South Slocum Street to Miss Melissa Gill. The offer is $2,315. The tax value is $4,660. The offer actually fails to meet the minimum 50% of tax value by $15. However, I didn't feel like that was a material enough amount to reject the offer. So I'm bringing it to council. It is the council's decision whether they accept it or not. The offer that Ms. Gill put forth was $2,315, so that's what you would be accepting to start the upset bid process. She did deposit the 5% of the bid that she gave, so that part is correct as well. So we're just asking if you want to accept that, to accept it, and then we can start the upset bid process.
Motion to accept.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are these vacant properties or these properties with buildings on them? I'm just curious.
I think most of these, without looking, I can flip back there to the map. I think this is a vacant property. If you look, there's a tax card in there, and there is no building value. It's just land value. So that particular one would be a vacant lot, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion to accept? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, next item is accept or reject the initial bid for 414 North Carolina Street from Miss Tanisa Evans. Miss Evans has offered $770 on the property. The tax value is $1,540. The offer is at least 50% of the tax value, and Miss Evans has deposited the 5% bid deposit in the form of a personal check. So we just need a motion to accept or reject.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, next item is accept or reject bid for 510 Wilmington Avenue from Mr. James Blount. He has offered $1,350. The tax value is $2,700. It is at least 50% of the tax value, and the bid deposit of 5% has been received in the form of a cashier's check.
Is there a motion to accept item J?
Motion to accept item J.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hand.
Our next item is accept or reject the bid for 700 Rudolph Street from Mr. Ronald L. James. Mr. James has offered $3,000 on the property. The tax value is $5,940. The offer is at least 50% of the tax value, and the bid deposit of 5% has been received in the form of a business check.
Is there a motion to accept item K?
Motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hand.
Okay. Our last property item is accept or reject the bid for 1003 North George Street to Miss Edna Burns. This one is just a little different. We received an offer from Miss Melissa Gill, which we had an offer from her on another property. Miss Gill offered $2,020. The tax value is $4,040. We also received an offer from Miss Edna Burns in the amount of $2,100. And, both offers are at least 50% of the tax value. Both bid deposits were 5% of the offer. In my opinion, I put forth the offer that was the higher value and had the bigger bid deposit. It just starts the upset bid process, but it is the council's decision. If you would prefer, you are welcome to accept Ms. Gill's offer. I've presented it as accepting Ms. Burns' offer to start the upset bid process.
Is there a motion to accept the bid as presented?
No, I'm sorry. Did Ms. Gill's offer come in first?
It did, but the process doesn't start until it's actually presented to council, and just due to me prioritizing my work, I couldn't get it here, and then Ms. Burns put in an offer a couple of weeks later, so it's really the council's decision. I'm looking at it from a financial standpoint. I have no other dog in the fight, so I'm saying that I would accept the higher offer because your upset bid process then starts the percentages on the higher bid. So competition is good, and it helps bring more monies back into the city's coffer, so that's how I presented it.
So hypothetically, she could give you, the first bid could give you a check tomorrow, and even though we accept this tonight,
Mhm.
she could get it still, right?
She could.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, she could.
So do we have a motion to accept the bid?
Second,
Second,
second.
all in favor?
Wait a minute.
Who was the first and second again?
I make the motion.
Okay. I'll second it.
Okay.
That's all
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
So item M has, on the consent agenda, has been withdrawn.
We didn't
I'm sorry.
vote on that.
I thought we did vote. Okay, I thought we had voted. I raised my hand.
I thought,
Let's just do it again to be sure.
Okay. All in favor of accepting the bid as presented on item L, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, 5-1. Okay, on item M has been withdrawn to be rescheduled for the April meeting. The next item is item N, Goldsboro Tourism Council appointment, city clerk.
yes. Miss Elba, and I'm gonna apologize if I pronounce her name incorrectly, but Miss Elba
Gutierrez.
was appointed to the Tourism Council as a hotelier on July the 16th, 2018, with her term to expire on December the 31st, 2022. And she has resigned effective January the 27th of 2021. Mr. Tyrone Barrett has submitted an application to serve, and we are asking that council consider a resolution appointing Mr. Tyrone Barrett to the Goldsboro Tourism Council, and also a resolution commending Ms. Gutierrez, who has served on the Tourism Council.
Okay, so the motion, the recommendation is to appoint a replacement for them. As read by the clerk, is there a motion to accept the recommendation?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that's item N. We have in the departmental monthly reports to speak to. Mr. Simon, you have anything to speak to on the department?
No, if there are no questions.
Okay. We will, let's see.
Closed session?
Okay, we'll go into closed session here. Is there a motion to enter closed session?
For potential litigation matters.
Yeah, for litigation matters?
I make a motion, we go in closed session.
Second, all in favor? Okay. For the spectators, please leave the council room.
good.
Okay. Okay, we've ended our closed session. Is there a motion to recess until 7 o'clock for regular session?
We don't really need to make a motion to recess. You can just declare as the chair of the, serving as the chair, Mayor Pro Tem, that we'll stand in recess until 7 o'clock.
Okay. Stand in recess until 7 o'clock.